Welcome to Coffee Meets Cloud, where three women in tech come together to share real stories about leadership, life, and everything in between. Join our hosts, Karami McCollum.
Oh, I love the voice note feature, y'all.
Cassandra Parker.
I'm hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit.
And Rachel Rogers.
We have the power to change it.
Your go-to source for candid conversations and unfiltered insights. So, grab your coffee, pull up a chair, and join the chaos.
Welcome back to another episode of Coffee Meets Cloud. Happy Tuesday. Good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're tuning in. Today, we are joined by someone who sits right at the intersection of data, leadership, and purpose. Sarah Margaret O'Brien is a data scientist at Southern Company, where she builds and applies machine learning and AI solutions to drive innovation in the energy industry. She was recently named 2025 Young Professional of the Year at the Women in Technology Awards, recognition that reflects not just her technical skill, but the impact she's having beyond her role. Sarah is currently pursuing her master's in analytics at Georgia Institute of Technology, where she also serves as a graduate student senator, because clearly one leadership role isn't enough. She's deeply committed to expanding access and representation for women in STEM, serving as a leader with Technical Women in Georgia, a Girls Who Code alumni board member, and a mentor with Rise in Computing. A proud Chicago native and Georgia State University alum, Sarah graduated magna cum laude in computer science with a minor in data science and helped launch the university's first all-female hackathon, Hackers. Beyond data science, Sarah is passionate about mindfulness, mental health advocacy, and mentoring the next generation of women in tech, bringing a grounded, intentional approach to ambition that we don't talk about nearly enough. Sarah, we're so excited to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Yay.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
We're so excited to have you. I loved the Women in Tech event, so I'm like super pumped that we were able to get you on and to talk about all your experiences.
Yes. I've loved being a part of Women in Tech, and I'm glad that I'm still able to be a part of this organization and meet so many cool people.
Yeah, I've seen some of the activity on LinkedIn. It looks like you've attended some other events and been on some panels and things. That's really cool. We had Cassandra Evans on the show. It was really great talking to her. I mean, when we were there, we were just like, that was the first time we'd been to the event. We were like, this is so cool. We've got to meet these women.
Right.
So yeah, it's been
We've
really
been
neat.
to other Women in Tech events, but never the awards. The awards were really special.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That was my first time going to the awards as well. But like y'all said, I'd been to Women in Tech events, and I was in it in college. So I was pretty familiar with the organization, but yeah, this was the first time I was able to go to the award ceremony. So that was great.
Yeah. Well, we love to get to know a little bit about your personal side and let our listeners know a little bit about you. Since this is Coffee Meets Cloud, we like to always ask our guests, do you drink coffee? Do you like coffee? And if you do, what is your favorite?
Okay, so this is a little controversial, but
Ooh, I love it.
So I don't not like coffee, but I'm an energy drinker. So it grosses everybody out, but I'm going to stand by my Red Bull. But I do like coffee. I like to go to different coffee shops in Atlanta and try the different like places and stuff like that. But my go-to has just always been caffeinated drinks.
So Red Bull, like the old school blue and silver can, original Red Bull. Oh, that takes me back to some really rough times.
Now look, these two ladies are also energy drink drinkers. Okay. So they're in your camp, but they do drink coffee. I do not do the energy drinks. I only do tea, but they're in your camp with the energy drinks.
I always have my trusty Celsius nearby.
Love a Celsius, but Red Bull's just been my tried and true since college. So I'm like, I gotta stick to my roots.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right?
Exactly.
But I feel like if you are accustomed to something like a Red Bull, it would be very hard to do something else. It's a very particular thing. So if that's your groove, I totally get it. Well, we're also Southern women, and our worlds tend to revolve around food. So we also like to know your favorite food. It could be like your favorite comfort food that's sort of your go-to, or if there's a snack or a meal that you just eat all the time. Do you have one in mind?
Yes. So I'm about to be very specific.
Okay.
So I have two answers to this question. So I love Indian food. I'm obsessed with Indian food. I make Indian food. I have been to pretty much every restaurant in Atlanta that serves Indian food. So any Indian food is my favorite. I particularly like South Indian food, which a lot of the dishes are things called like dosa. They have more like vegan, vegetarian type dishes. So I really, really like Indian food. But a comfort dish is probably the Bella Hadid spicy pasta. It's just too easy to make, and it was a tried and true in college, and it's like 5 ingredients, and it's just so good. So
I'm looking that up.
Yes. Cassandra's going to Google immediately.
I love to cook and eat and all the things. So
I'm telling you, it's life-changing. It's so good. So definitely look it up.
I feel like I must be missing the boat with not eating Indian food. This is now the second conversation we've had.
It is.
We just had Salesforce Amy on, and she was all about the Indian food too. I mean, fair to her, her husband is also Indian, but she actually was a big fan of Indian food before then.
I'm going to have to go somewhere now. Maybe this weekend I can find a good place.
Yes.
I'll follow up. I'll let you guys know what I think about it.
Well, Sarah needs to send us her recommendations for restaurants around Atlanta, best ones, because then we won't have to try them out and see if it's any good, because we may get a bad experience.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so let's talk about, in your intro, we talked about Girls Who Code. So you've gone from Girls Who Code to being a data scientist. When you look back at your journey from Girls to Code to where you are now, what is there like a belief system about women in STEM that you think has been the most challenged, like strengthened or completely dismantled? You know, women in STEM is not a new concept. They've been around for a long time, but putting the focus around it has really increased in this generation, I think. So are there some beliefs you've kind of bared witness to that you feel like has been challenged or is improving?
For sure. I definitely feel that when I joined Girls Who Code, I was looking for a community of women who were similar to me and what I wanted to do professionally. I went to a high school where I did computer science, but it was mostly men, and it discouraged me a lot. But as I kept going, especially throughout like Girls Who Code and WIT, I realized there was a lot more women in STEM than I thought, just more underrepresented than I thought. I don't necessarily think that it's not that there's not a lot of women in STEM. It's just the opportunities we get are very few and far between. And I think especially this generation, we've gotten so much opportunity that it's really, really been inspirational. And it's helped me like get through college throughout these past few years, and to transition into data science, it's made me more confident. Even though there still are a majority of men in STEM, it's allowed me to know that I have a group of women that I can like fall back on, ask questions, and, encourage each other throughout this experience. So, I definitely think that just being with Girls Who Code in these organizations were such a good stepping stone for the transition from like when I first found out that I liked computer science and data science to like actually where I'm at right now. So, yeah.
What's one thing you think that Girls Who Code didn't prepare you for the workforce? Something that kind of surprised you when you joined the workforce?
I think that Girls Who Code, I don't think it prepared me enough for working with different generations of individuals in technology. I was surrounded by amazing women, amazing, peers, but most of the women that I had encountered were either professors or, people my age. And working alongside individuals of different generations, I would say has been pretty interesting, especially because everyone started their tech career at a different point. So like some people have more reference to the like Y2K, tech scene and stuff like that. So that's been pretty interesting. But it's also been very helpful because it gives me a lot of perspective and insight to how far technology has gone. And so I would say that is probably what I wish Girls Who Code prepared me for a little bit more, but I would say I've been able to adapt to it pretty well. And with the support of WIT, it's shown me the different, it's shown me and allowed me to meet women of different generations in tech. So that's been great.
That's cool insight. I didn't think about that, but I can see where when you've been kind of insulated in a group like that, and then you come out and it's a lot more broad, it could be a bit of a culture shock in a way. So, yeah.
I think that happens too a lot at college, right? And in kind of in any program that you go to, because you're going with like-minded people. Just if you take a pottery class, right? Pottery is the best thing because everybody who's there is ready to do that. And you go out to the world and you try to sell your pottery and you're like, well, wait a second. You don't care about pottery? What are you doing?
Right.
I think that, it'll be interesting to see as you participate in these programs, Sarah, like how you help them prepare people for that experience, right? And kind of provide that perspective back. But I think one thing that's kind of interesting too is what originally pulled you towards analytics and machine learning? Was it just general curiosity? Do you feel like that's kind of how your brain's wired? Was it something that impacted you that made you want to go this way?
Yeah. I would say that I have a pretty interesting start to my interest for data science and computer science and tech in general. So I have been coding since I was in high school. And when I was in high school, we had a pretty small computer science program. That's kind of where I started off. There wasn't really like data science or anything like that. It was like web development, tech courses. And I found that just going through those classes, I just really understood like coding, algorithms. My brain just was really quick to adapt to patterns. So I just always kind of stuck with that. But as I kept going in my high school career, I was invited to participate in an all-female hackathon with Microsoft. And there was just a few of us from my school that went, but we actually ended up winning. And I never like really won anything before. So I was like, wow, this is like really cool. Like I met all these great women. I created something I really loved. And so I was offered a quote unquote internship with a teacher at my high school who had a son at Georgia Tech. And they were trying to do a project that was related to machine learning. And so they had invited some of the computer science students and some of the women that had done the hackathon to do some small helping out. We weren't doing anything crazy, but just to kind of understand, give some extra eyes to the project and kind of spark our curiosity. And I actually remember that teacher looking at us in the eyes and was like, AI is the future. And if you don't get into it right now, like you're missing out. And that was in 2019, 2020. And I took that and I was like, I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to that. And unfortunately, I was a senior during COVID. So that internship was cut pretty short. But what I did learn from it was that I was really interested in machine learning and I really liked coding as well. So when I transitioned into college, I applied as a general computer science major. Georgia State University at the time didn't really have too many engineering options or STEM options. So computer science was kind of the general major that most people chose. As I was continuing on with my degree in computer science, I had learned that you could minor in different things. And I noticed in a lot of my computer science classes that they were more coding based. And I wanted to pivot a little bit more into machine learning just because I had a little glimpse of it and I was interested in continuing with that. And then I ended up minoring in data science when I was in college for my undergrad. And when I was doing my internship, I had taken some of that machine learning experience, some of those classes, and I did some projects that got me a lot of attention, and I was able to convert over to a data scientist. And from there, I kind of combined all the different aspects of like working with machine learning topics, coding for so long, and then getting a major, but also a minor and 2 technical degrees. And it was a pretty easy transition to pick my master's just because my master's is like the data science master's. And so, that's kind of like where I started. As I've been going on, I've just kind of been doing certificates and different things like that to enhance the AI like knowledge that I got. And then in 2023, when it kind of blew up with ChatGPT, I kind of took that as an inning to really center my projects and my work around AI. So
that's smart. It's a smart pivot. One of the things we've talked about on the show in the past is like ethical use of machine learning and AI. So what are your thoughts around the obligation that, that companies providing these solutions or those of us building in these solutions, like what's our responsibility around how we do this ethically, especially to your point, things like ChatGPT, this is in every part of everybody's lives really already.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of opinions. I have seen the transition of AI go from computer science, very traditional, very like nerdy back in, before 2023. And I've seen how now everybody is using it. I think that our obligation is to understand the importance of the data that we're putting into these machine learning models and who is developing these AI and these machine learning models in general. A lot of my advocacy work and a lot of the talks that I do for different universities are centered around ingraining in early college students like ethics in coding, because we know a lot and we have a lot of power and knowledge. And I think that to have an awareness earlier on, it kind of helps throughout your career to have that in the back of your mind of there's a lot of bias, there's a lot of hallucinations, and there's a lot of things that could go wrong creating these AI models. But I also think that AI can also be made for very, very good things. And especially what I do for work and what a lot of other people in AI and in data science, we all discuss, what we do, what our projects are. And to me, that is more traditional AI. That's, that is what the intent of AI has always been, to automate things and make things easier and, help people make decisions that they might not have thought of. So I'm 50-50. I've like that we're embracing a more AI culture, but I'm also very aware of the repercussions of not being aware of the downsides.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's, we like to talk about it as there's AI, right? AI has been around for so long. It's been around for forever, and people don't realize that. But what's changed is the agentic side, right? It's the consumerization of AI and all of the challenges and fun that comes with that. I think one question I had is, you're focused a lot on the technology side. And one of the biggest challenges I see with agentic enterprises is it's not the technology, it's the humans, right? It's the ability to have the right business process that's going to allow the right escalation for the agent to hand off, right? And how that process would work. Have you spent time in that space and have maybe some tips and tricks for people on how they would embrace that? So you can develop it, that's great, but then what, right? Like if it never makes it off the shelf, it doesn't really help the organization. Have you spent time in that area?
Yes, yeah, I think I have a pretty interesting perspective because I feel like I've grown up with the boom right now that is the AI bubble, and so I'm in the depth of it, especially with my company. And just to give a little context on my company, we are a very we've been around for a while. We've been around for over 100 years. We have serviced the Southeast, and so with that, we have a lot of employees that range in different years of experience and different tenure at the company. And so that's actually been one of my big projects that I've been working on right now with some other individuals, is having an AI and data literacy program where we are confident that our coworkers and our peers are using AI and machine learning in a safe way, in a way that doesn't hurt them, doesn't hurt others, and just in a way that makes them feel more comfortable. We've noticed a lot of people, there's two different sides of the spectrum right now with AI, especially with different generations. We have the older generation, which I've noticed a lot of them feel very off-put, very scared. They don't really know what it is. They see a lot of stuff online and on TV. And then we have the generation of really younger people who are using it on a day-to-day. And what we see is we have not a lot of solutions to bridge that gap between, let's get to a middle ground where AI can be a companion, someone that, or something I should say, that helps us in our day-to-day. And so one of my big projects right now at work is going to the different headquarters and the different offices, and we have power plants, and we have, different areas where we have employees that are working, and we actually go out and we teach them about AI. We teach them about generative AI. We teach them at a very, understandable level. I know that I develop it, so I could use all these buzzwords, but we try to make it in a way that is less threatening and less, scary to utilize, because it is really great. And there's a lot of use cases you can use AI for in your day-to-day that I feel a lot of people don't know. So just making more people aware. We have, with our literacy program, we have like trainings, you can do like classes. We tailor it to like your job specifically. So, we'll recommend certain things to learn if you're an analyst or if you're a team lead and things like that. So, as much as I do develop, I also do a lot of knowledge and advocacy for people who don't know too much about AI. Mm-hmm. It helps that I like talking about AI. So, it's just something that was natural for me to like get into, but
that's super awesome. Yeah. I had written a book because I noticed this gap, right? Of like the technology was there, but the humans weren't. And so how do you bring the humans on board? And so it sounds like you've got a pretty solid grasp of how to get people on board. I think we all deal with those generational challenges, right? Of someone who's done something, a job a particular way for a certain amount of time, especially depending where they are, right? Their embracement of technology may not be there. And some of that skepticism is from very valid areas based on how technology has impacted people over the years, right? So I think it'll be interesting to see kind of where we go with all of this, and super excited to see kind of where you go. I love your passion. I love how you are, very much a person who is going to stand out there, who's going to try and help bring people along. And I feel like that is just a really good avenue for you. So kudos to you for, expressing that passion and being in that particular space.
Thank you.
When you were talking about some of these points, I think back to like thinking about how some folks are scared of this AI stuff. It makes me think of the Y2K boom. Yep. And I can remember, everybody was so freaked out about it rolling over into the new, into the 2000s. And everybody just had this idea that everything was just going to suddenly blow up.
Stop working.
The whole grid was just going to go down for some arbitrary reason. And so to think back to, that time and then where we are now, can you imagine at that time if people realized we were going to be watching robots walk around and have conversations with people?
Now look, I'm holding on to the Brave Little Toaster, right? That movie that Disney created forever ago, right? Yep. Or, people are scared of Terminator or, all of these other things. And I think that's where, again, it goes back to like how you govern it, how you maintain it. And the big thing is you can't develop it and walk away. Right? You have to stay involved. You have to stay engaged. Humans have to stay at the helm if you want this thing to work.
Help the humans. We're not trying to get rid of the humans. We're trying to help the humans.
Exactly.
And I think that's where the older generation gets a little lost, is because they feel like, I've been doing the same exact job for 30 years. And what do you mean you're going to help me do part of my job easier, right? What do you mean you're going to give me more time in my day? Does that mean you're going to fire me? No, we're just going to make you do more high value items that you really need to do.
And think about it from their perspective, right? Think about if you were a secretary in the 50s or the 60s, right? Or the 70s, right? Computers weren't available. You were handwriting things, right? Then computers became available. You had to learn a new skill set. You had to learn typing, right? And then you transition from that to now, wait, this thing's going to take notes. And so now what does that mean for me? And also you may be in a point in your life where you're like, I don't want to learn another thing. Like, I just don't. And that's okay too, right? But I think it's about recognizing that and helping them as they go on their journey.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. So shifting gears a little bit, Sarah, we wanted to talk to you a little bit about representation. So people are always talking about representation in technology. So in your experience, what matters more, being seen or being sponsored?
So I would say, just from personal experience, I would say probably from what I've encountered, being seen. But at the same time, organizations have definitely sponsored me and sponsored, things that I've done and conferences and, awards and stuff like that. But I would say that the use of LinkedIn and the use of just being at a really big university and being, a president of clubs when I was in college, it allowed me to meet people and get experiences that I don't think I would have got if I didn't put myself out there. It also just allows for that human connection, I feel, especially when it was coming to the job hiring and trying to find a job and an internship. Being seen by companies, I noticed had a lot more weight for just where I was at in my career at the time. And when I was able to get those opportunities of like meeting a hiring recruiter and meeting someone at the company, I found that it just solidified the connection and the opportunity a little bit more. But I think now that I'm transitioning into being a full-time data scientist, I definitely find that sponsorship has been a little bit more helpful in the past year.
Do you, just thinking of mentorship, like how we all show up for, the girls behind us, the young women behind us, or those who've reached back and held out a hand to you. Can you think of any advice you've received or that you hear others receive that is coming from a place where it's meant to be helpful, but maybe misses the mark a little bit, or maybe how you've changed the way that you mentor now that you're at the part of your journey that you're at?
Yes, I think that I wouldn't say it's necessarily a specific point in time where I've gotten advice, but just overall general advice and just encouragement from others. But I feel that I definitely don't challenge the status quo, but I feel I don't really allow myself to not be who I am and show up who I am. I know that especially when I was starting in my career, the stigma for women in STEM was kind of be grateful, be quiet, and, just keep your head down. There's not a lot of women here. But as I kept going throughout my career with all these organizations like Women in Tech and Girls Who Code, I felt more confident in feeling like I don't have to change who I am just to do what I want to do for work. That especially comes with, I have tattoos all over my body and piercings and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a pretty traditional company, that was a little nerve-wracking at first to kind of be like, okay, are people going to judge me and my work based off of what I look like and the fact that I'm a short young woman who is very talkative and has very expressive facial expressions, and I can't really keep my mouth shut all the time. And I think that is advice that I'm trying to pass down to other women coming up in STEM is you don't have to dilute yourself to be in STEM, and your uniqueness actually helps you out a lot more than you would think.
Reach.
Mic drop.
So, yeah.
I love that.
We've been told to sit down and be quiet too long, so I definitely agree with you. So
I waited so many years to pierce my nose. It is unbelievable because I was in corporate America. I wasn't in technology. I was in customer experience at a very old school company with a lot of old school opinions about things of that nature. And I was so afraid of not being taken seriously. Like I knew what I felt like my abilities were, but I was afraid having something more edgy like that was going to distract from that, and I
Right.
wouldn't have the same opportunities. And now I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was a thing. Like, what?
It's
definitely a
interesting.
thing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a thing. I think that's one thing, Sarah, as you encourage those women, and I think everybody should be your authentic self, right? And I think you have to be able to then put up with everybody's authentic self, right? Like if you're putting your authentic self out there, you can't criticize somebody else for their
Right.
authentic self and expect that to go well. But I think one thing is, especially as, you are a high performing woman, you are someone who is putting things out there and kind of blazing this trail. You have to help people be prepared for the pushback they're going to get. Not everybody's going to like the crazy hair color or the new hairstyle, right? And some people do judge you on your looks until they get to know you, right? And so how would you, when you think about the career you're creating and where you're going, what kind of advice do you give people to help them understand that while, yes, you should be your authentic self, you're going to encounter obstacles. And here's something and tools that you've used to help you overcome those obstacles, because they're going to exist, right? It doesn't matter, who you encounter. It's always going to be a challenge.
I definitely think that the advice I'm a very cut and dry person, and I'm very honest with the woman that I mentor. And I don't sugarcoat how it is to be a woman in technology, and I don't sugarcoat how hard it's been to get where I'm at, and I don't sugarcoat how hard it was for women in the past. And I think that is something I wish I was given a little bit more insight as I was going through my career is yes, you're going to get so much positivity and you're going to be so fulfilled and you're going to love your job. But there's going to be a lot of road bumps, and there's going to be a lot of people who don't like that and are intimidated by that and don't really understand. And I think that my solutions that I give are obviously, just showing up as my authentic self, and also, showing girls that you can do this and you can do that and you can have hobbies and, stuff like that. But just really relying on that support group of people like women in tech and girls who code, because whenever I'm having a bad day or whenever I'm, feeling really defeated, especially like with my job, like I always know that there's a group of girls who understand and encourage me and want to see me do the best that I can. So definitely just being honest about how it can be, but trying really hard to show that there's a lot of rewards from the hard work.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah.
So having that village.
Yeah.
For sure.
And remembering, I think you said the word intimidated, and that struck with me because I've been told that throughout my career of, oh, you're intimidating. And I'm like, I'm not intimidating. You are intimidated. There is a difference, right? And I think that is something to remember throughout your career, right? Especially if you are outspoken, especially if you are someone who's going to go to the table, you're going to get these labels, right?
Mm-hmm.
That does not mean that you are the label. It does not mean that you need to change. It means that that person has a challenge and that person needs to work on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's great advice how you kind of phrased it, of making sure that, look, you're going to hit these things. It's what you do next that matters. And we are here for anybody who wants to speak on these topics. We've all had our own strides and strifes and challenges. I started my career in oil and gas. And so if you watch the show Landman, yes, that's what it's like. And I can tell you how it is to be a woman in that environment. It's very different. But, we've all kind of had those experiences, and I think this collective, and that's what we try to do on this podcast, right? Like help people understand some of those things and maybe some strategies to deal with. So kudos to you.
I think that's great. Like I hadn't really thought about it like that, but when you say that and I think about it, like I think I did that and not realizing I did that. Like when you find your community that is more like-minded and can appreciate the qualities that you have and what you have to offer, having those positive voices to help balance the ones who maybe don't understand is really important. And I think it just helps you face the ones, like it just counteracts it, counterbalances it. You're not always hearing the things that feel like friction. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we want to make sure before we kind of close things out, because we're getting close to time, unfortunately. Do you have any closing thoughts, like something you wish people knew, or advice you may have for women, or advice for men of what not to do? We love those tips. But
Right?
anything we didn't cover that you just wish you could have said?
Yeah, I definitely think that just a message to men in general, and especially in STEM, is when you support women in STEM and like authentically, it means the world. It helps a lot, and just having that support system from men while also having it from women has been something that's also been really great for me, because just as many women that support me, there's just as many men. And I think that that's just as important, to understanding how we can bridge that gap of there not being enough representation of women in STEM. So I just think that, getting involved, even if you're a guy with Girls Who Code, volunteering, helping out women in tech, like there's opportunities that you can show support to other women in STEM. So I definitely challenge you to look into that.
Love it.
That's great. All right, Carmi, it's that time to take us home.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Coffee Meets Cloud. Sarah, thank you so much for spending time with us and for sharing your journey, your perspective, and the work you're doing to move the needle for women in data and AI and just tech more broadly. We're incredibly thankful for the conversation and the impact you're making inside and outside your role. If you all enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use the conversation right now, especially anybody navigating their early career in technology. You can find us on all major podcast platforms, and we'd love to connect with you on social at Coffee Meets Cloud. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.